I think he's being set up to fail.
From the very start, Stephen A. Smith hasn't held back on his opinions about Shedeur Sanders' career, but now he's taking it further by exposing Shedeur's money problems. And it's not shocking. His career has already taken a hit, from sliding in the draft to losing his starting spot. According to Stephen A., his spending might be even worse. Let's break it down. The $1 Million Mirage. Let's start with the obvious question that's been burning in everyone's mind for months now. How exactly does a college quarterback afford a car collection worth over $1 million? Shedeur Sanders, the 23-year-old quarterback who transitioned from the Colorado Buffaloes to the Cleveland Browns as a fifth-round draft pick in 2025, has amassed a notable luxury car collection primarily fueled by his name, image, and likeness, NIL deals during college. Now, on the surface, that sounds perfectly reasonable, right? NIL deals are legitimate, and top college athletes can make serious bank from them. But here's where things get interesting, and where Stephen Smith's investigative instincts started kicking into overdrive. These deals, estimated at around $6.5 million, included partnerships with brands like Nike, Gatorade, Beats by Dre, Google, 5430 Alliance, and Mercedes-Benz, allowing him to build a collection reportedly valued at over $1 million. Now let's break down this supposed financial empire piece by piece, because the devil is always in the details, and Stephen Smith has been digging deep into those details. His jersey sales alone generated $14 million in commissions from $250 million in total sales, further bolstering his finances. But hold on just a minute. When you really dive into these numbers with a critical eye, something doesn't quite add up the way it should. Commission rates in the sports merchandise world typically range from 5 to 15%, and even at the highest end of that spectrum, we're talking about substantial money, but not necessarily the kind that justifies the absolutely insane lifestyle we've been witnessing unfold in real time. The timeline of purchases alone should raise red flags for anyone paying attention. We're talking about a young man who is making luxury purchases that would make professional athletes jealous, all while supposedly living off college NIL deals. Stephen Smith has been one of the few voices in sports media willing to ask the tough questions about whether this math actually makes sense when you dig beneath the surface. Let's talk about the crown jewel of his collection, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, custom model in black and gold wrap, Colorado Buffaloes colors, one of his flagship vehicles, acquired during college via NIL earnings, with an estimated value of $350,000. This isn't just any car purchase. This is a statement piece that screams, "I've made it," to anyone within a 5-mile radius. But here's the thing that caught Stephen Smith's attention and made his analytical mind start working overtime. This car purchase happened while Shedeur was still in college, supposedly funded entirely by those NIL deals that somehow materialized out of thin air. But the automotive extravaganza doesn't stop there, folks. Oh no, we're just getting started on this wild ride through luxury excess. The Lamborghini Urus, high-performance SUV acquired around January 2024, newly decked out with customizations shown on Instagram in February 2024, with an estimated value of $240,000 to $250,000. Then there's the Mercedes Maybach GLS 600, luxury SUVs worth $200,000 each, with Shedeur owning 2 and gifting one to Jordan Seaton in December 2024. And let's not forget about the Tesla Cybertruck, purchased in April 2024 and claimed as the first Cyberbeast model in Colorado, with an estimated value of $80,000, $110,000. The collection rounds out with a Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat worth $90,000, $95,000, a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray valued at $60,000, $70,000, and a Mercedes EQB electric SUV worth approximately $55,000. Now let's do some quick math here, because numbers don't lie, even when people might be stretching the truth or creating elaborate financial illusions. We're looking at a car collection worth well over $1.5 million, and that's being extremely conservative with the estimates, and not accounting for the custom work, taxes, insurance, and ongoing maintenance costs for a college student from NIL deals. In a sport where even the biggest names struggle to command 8-figure NIL packages consistently. But Stephen Smith wasn't just looking at the cars when he started investigating this situation. No, his investigative radar was pinging on something much more revealing and potentially damaging: the jewelry and watch collection that Shedeur has been flashing on social media like he's trying to blind satellites in orbit. Sanders' affinity for luxury timepieces and chains stems from his early college days, where he began investing in custom pieces despite modest beginnings at an HBCU. But here's where the timeline gets really interesting and starts to fall apart under scrutiny. The custom Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15 500, his most iconic piece, is a stainless steel model fully customized with over 30 carats of VVS Clarity diamonds, valued at approximately $70,000, purchased in 2022 while he was still at Jackson State University, and it gets more extravagant and financially questionable from there. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Skeleton watch, worn during the 2024 Heisman Trophy ceremony, valued at $295,000. Then there are Richard Mille watches, with post-draft reports referencing him showing off a $265,000 model on Instagram, with another mention of a $300,000 variant. But here's where Stephen Smith's financial detective work really starts to pay off and reveal the cracks in this carefully constructed facade. The timing of these purchases, the scale of the spending, and the sources of income just don't align in a way that makes complete financial sense to anyone who understands how money actually works in the real world. When you're dropping nearly $400,000 on watches alone while still in college, questions need to be asked, and Stephen Smith has been asking them. Those questions become even more pressing and urgent when you consider the post-draft financial reality that hit like a brick wall. His rookie salary of $840,000 and $447,000 signing bonus as a fifth-round pick suddenly puts his pre-NFL spending in a very different and troubling perspective. We're talking about a guy who spent more on accessories than his entire first-year NFL salary before he even got drafted. That's not financial planning, that's financial fantasy. Stephen Smith has been particularly vocal about what he sees as financial red flags waving everywhere in Shedeur's lifestyle. The veteran ESPN analyst, known for his sharp eye for details and his willingness to call out inconsistencies when he sees them, has been raising serious questions about the sustainability and authenticity of this ultra-luxurious lifestyle. And when Stephen Smith starts asking questions about your finances, you know there's probably more to the story than meets the eye. The most telling moment might have been the 2025 NFL Draft Party controversy, where Sanders hosted a lavish post-draft party at Hide and Seek nightclub in Dallas featuring a Louis Vuitton chest containing $1 million in cash. Now, flashing $1 million in cash at a party is certainly impressive and makes for great social media content, but financial experts know that liquid cash displays are often more about perception and maintaining an image than actual long-term wealth or smart money management. What's particularly interesting and concerning is how this luxury lifestyle has been funded and maintained over time. While the collection reflects Sanders' blend of performance, luxury, and sustainability, often tied to his personal brand and family influence, the fundamental question remains: is this sustainable wealth built on solid financial foundations? Or is it carefully constructed financial theater designed to create an illusion of success? The warning signs were there early on, and some veteran voices in the NFL tried to sound the alarm. In September 2023, NFL legend Tom Brady advised Sanders on his Let's Go podcast to prioritize film study over luxury purchases.
One question before I go, Tom, do you think a college kid needs a Phantom, like a Rolls Royce?
Nah, hey, no, it's not a Phantom. It's a Rolls Royce Cousin.
I think he needs to get in the film room and spend as much time in there as possible. And less time in the car and more time in the film room.
Brady's comments weren't just about priorities on the field. They were about financial responsibility and long-term career focus that comes from someone who understands what it takes to build lasting wealth. Even more revealing and embarrassing were the practical issues Sanders faced with his vehicles during his time at Colorado, including multiple parking violations, with his Rolls-Royce Cullinan being booted, wheel clamped, on November 9th, 2023 for unpaid tickets. When you can afford a $350,000 car but can't keep up with basic parking tickets, it raises serious questions about cash flow management and whether the financial foundation is as solid as it appears on the surface. And that's where Stephen Smith's warnings shift from questioning Shedeur's spending habits to exposing how his image and lifestyle may have directly sabotaged the very career and fortune he was counting on. The draft day disaster and financial wake-up call. Let's set the scene for what should have been Shedeur Sanders' triumphant entry into the NFL and his ticket to financial security for life. Shedeur Sanders entered the 2025 NFL Draft as one of the most hyped prospects, widely projected as a top 5 pick, with ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. ranking him as the second best quarterback available and predicting a top 5 selection. Top 5 picks in the NFL Draft typically command signing bonuses in the $25 to $40 million range, with total rookie contracts worth $70 million over 4 years. But then draft day happened, and everything went sideways in the most spectacular and financially devastating fashion imaginable. In a stunning turn of events, Sanders slid dramatically and was not selected until the 5th round, picked 144th overall by the Cleveland Browns. Let me put this in proper financial perspective for you. This wasn't just a slide down the draft board. This was a financial freefall that cost Shedeur potentially tens of millions of dollars and completely changed his economic reality overnight. Stephen Smith was among the first major media voices to recognize the massive implications of this draft disaster and what it meant for someone who had been living like a millionaire before actually securing millionaire money.
Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, was targeted.
The numbers tell the absolutely devastating story of financial opportunity lost. This fall was estimated to cost Sanders potentially over $40 million if he had gone in the top 5. Instead of a massive signing bonus and guaranteed money that would set him up for life, Sanders signed a rookie contract worth $4.6 million with the Browns. That's roughly 1/10 of what he could have expected as a top 5 pick. And when you're carrying the financial obligations we've seen thus far, that difference isn't just significant, it's potentially catastrophic. But here's where Stephen Smith's analysis gets really sharp and cuts to the heart of the matter. He started asking the hard questions about what led to this dramatic fall, and whether Shedeur's lifestyle and attitude played a direct role in sabotaging his own financial future. Multiple anonymous sources described Sanders' interviews as disastrous, with an NFL quarterbacks coach calling him brash and arrogant, while Todd McShay reported teams felt he lacked a professional approach and was unprofessional and disinterested.
I'm going to say that while in the same breath conceding and acknowledging that Shedeur Sanders is not blameless here.
The pre-draft process was apparently a complete disaster from start to finish, and Stephen Smith has been connecting the dots between the lifestyle excess and the attitude problems that cost Shedeur millions. Sanders attended the NFL Combine but refused to participate in on-field workouts, including throwing drills and the 40-yard dash, focusing solely on interviews and planning to showcase his skills at Colorado's Pro Day instead. When you're projected as a top pick, you can sometimes get away with that kind of approach and selective participation. But when teams are already questioning your attitude and character based on your public persona, it becomes a huge red flag that confirms their worst suspicions. Even more damaging and financially costly were reports about his interview performance that painted a picture of someone completely out of touch with reality. One assistant coach told NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, "It was the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life," citing entitlement, horrible body language, blaming teammates, and not being that good. Sanders reportedly sandbagged meetings with teams he didn't want to join, rubbing executives the wrong way. Stephen Smith connected these attitude problems directly to his lavish lifestyle, and his analysis is absolutely brutal in its accuracy. When you're living like a millionaire before you've actually secured millionaire money, it can create a sense of entitlement and unrealistic expectations that shows up in professional settings. And in the NFL, where character evaluation is just as important as physical talent, that kind of attitude can cost you everything you've worked for.
I think he's being set up to fail. That's right, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Here we are on national television, right? There's been 11 practices, if I remember correctly. He's been he's been playing against the third unit.
But the financial implications go far beyond just the rookie contract numbers, and Stephen Smith has been vocal about how this draft slide could impact Shedeur's entire career earning potential for decades to come. First-round picks get more opportunities, more patience from organizations, better coaching, and significantly more leverage in future contract negotiations. Fifth-round picks, they're constantly fighting just to stay on the roster, working with the scout team, and proving themselves every single day just to earn a chance. Stephen Smith has been particularly vocal about what he sees as a dangerous pattern of living beyond one's means and the psychology that creates. The veteran analyst understands better than most that professional sports careers are unpredictable, injury-prone, and shorter than most people realize. And financial security comes from smart money management and conservative spending, not flashy displays of wealth that drain your resources. The post-draft reality has been sobering and potentially career-threatening. Sanders joined the Browns wearing number 12, competing with third-round pick Dylan Gabriel in a very crowded quarterback room. He's not just competing for a starting position. He's fighting to justify his spot on the roster and prove he deserves to even be in the NFL. That's not exactly the position you want to be in when you have million-dollar lifestyle expenses to maintain and no guaranteed income beyond this season. The psychological impact of this financial reality check can't be understated either. At his watch party, he called the draft slide fuel to the fire, but insisted it shouldn't have happened. But disappointment doesn't pay luxury car insurance premiums, and fuel to the fire doesn't cover the maintenance costs on a fleet of exotic vehicles or the insurance on hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. Stephen Smith has been particularly critical of how this entire situation was handled by Shedeur and his team throughout the pre-draft process. The pre-draft arrogance, the lifestyle excess that was impossible to ignore, and the apparent lack of preparation for the possibility that things might not go according to plan. It all adds up to what Stephen Smith sees as a cautionary tale about putting the cart before the horse and counting your chickens before they hatch. hatch. Multiple NFL insiders hinted the Browns might trade or cut Sanders amid the QB competition, with one analyst calling stashing him a messy outcome. When your job security is that tenuous and your future in the league is questionable, every dollar spent on luxury items becomes a potential financial mistake that could haunt you for years. The draft day disaster wasn't just about football talent or team needs. It was about a young man learning the hard way that confidence without humility, spending without earning, and lifestyle without substance can have very real, very expensive consequences that follow you for the rest of your career. And Stephen Smith has been watching it all unfold with the keen eye of someone who's seen this story before and knows exactly how it usually ends. But if you thought the financial mirage and draft day disaster were the end of Shedeur Sanders' problems, you haven't seen anything yet. Because Stephen Smith's most damning expose reveals how one quarterback's unchecked arrogance and sense of entitlement created a domino effect of scandals, controversies, and career-threatening incidents that paint a picture of a young man spiraling completely out of control, both personally and professionally, when arrogance costs everything. Let's start with the root of it all, the arrogance that Stephen Smith identified as the cancer eating away at Shedeur's career from the inside out. Sanders' draft slide was attributed by many sources to his pre-draft conduct, including poor interviews, refusal to fully participate in the NFL Combine, and concerns about his on-field limitations. But this wasn't just about one bad interview or a single moment of poor judgment. This was about a pattern of behavior that revealed a fundamental character flaw that would follow him throughout his early professional career. The arrogance manifested itself in ways that should have been warning signs to everyone around him. Sanders allegedly told teams not to draft him unless they were prepared to change their franchise and culture, which was seen as demanding and presumptuous. But the pre-draft arrogance was just the tip of the iceberg, and Stephen Smith started documenting a pattern of behavior that would become increasingly self-destructive and financially ruinous. The nepotism accusations that had been swirling around Shedeur for years suddenly took on new significance when viewed through the lens of his entitled behavior and expectation of special treatment. Shedeur Sanders has been plagued by nepotism allegations throughout his college and early professional career, with claims primarily stemming from the fact that he has never played under a head coach other than his father. Deion Sanders publicly stated during a team meeting at Colorado in December 2022 that Shedeur would be the starting quarterback upon their transfer. This guarantee fueled perceptions that opportunities were handed to him rather than earned through open competition, and Stephen Smith saw this as the beginning of a dangerous pattern of entitlement that would eventually explode in spectacular fashion. The situation reached a fever pitch with Colorado's athletic director Rick George announcing the premature retirement of Shedeur's number 2 jersey and Travis Hunter's number 12 jersey during the team's spring game in April 2025, before either player had even entered the NFL draft. Former Colorado star Darian Hagan expressed being flabbergasted by the decision, arguing it diminished the legacy of past greats. This wasn't just about honoring achievement, it was about creating a culture of entitlement that Stephen Smith warned would have serious consequences down the road. Those consequences started manifesting themselves almost immediately in Shedeur's professional life, and Stephen Smith was there to document every misstep and scandal that followed. The traffic violations became a perfect metaphor for his broader character issues, an inability to follow basic rules or show respect for authority. On January 6, 2024, Sanders was pulled over by Boulder police in Colorado for driving 75 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone while behind the wheel of a black Dodge Durango. But that was just the beginning of a pattern of reckless behavior that would continue well into his professional career. After being drafted by the Browns, Sanders encountered 2 speeding violations within 12 days in June 2025. First cited for driving 91 miles per hour in a 65 miles per hour zone, then pulled over for driving 101 miles per hour in a 60 miles per hour zone. When Browns GM Andrew Berry addressed the June incidents, his response was scathing. Not smart, just not smart. It's not just about yourself. It's not just about having a joyride. It's not just about driving a car really fast. It's about the fact that you can endanger other people. It's just dangerous. But the traffic violations were just symptomatic of a much larger pattern of entitled behavior that began manifesting itself in toxic relationships with teammates and media personnel. The feuds and confrontations that followed painted a picture of someone completely unable to handle criticism or accountability, and Stephen saw these incidents as clear indicators of a career heading off the rails. In August 2025, rumors of a feud between Cleveland Browns rookie quarterbacks Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel dominated NFL headlines, fueled by perceived slights, media speculation, and social media buzz. The drama escalated after Gabriel's preseason debut when he made what many interpreted as a subtle jab at Sanders with his comment about entertainers and competitors. Gabriel's remark was widely interpreted as a direct reference to Sanders' flashy persona, social media presence, and family ties to Deion Sanders, often labeled a media circus. Even more revealing was Sanders' confrontation with ESPN Cleveland radio host Tony Grossi in the locker room on August 9, 2025, captured by his brother's YouTube channel.
Tony, I be hoping you got something positive to say about me. You always say negative stuff about me. And I'm like, I ain't do nothing to you. I ain't seen nothing positive that you've ever said.
The media confrontation revealed something much deeper and more troubling than just sensitivity to criticism. It exposed what Stephen Smith identified as a complete lack of self-awareness and accountability that would prove to be career poison in the highly scrutinized world of professional football. The personal scandals weren't limited to professional conflicts either. Despite significant media attention, Sanders has generally kept his personal relationships private, but speculation about his dating life has been fueled by public appearances and social media interactions. His most publicized relationship with actress Storm Reed reportedly ended in 2023 after Reed discovered Sanders' involvement with other women, including allegations of him sliding into the DMs of Instagram models. The pattern of relationship drama and personal controversy further reinforced Stephen Smith's concerns about Sanders' character and decision-making abilities. More recently, Sanders was linked to Instagram model Jasmine Ray in a June 2025 incident when they were both pulled over for speeding, with Ray referring to herself as Sanders' girlfriend during the traffic stop. The financial implications of these scandals began mounting in ways that Stephen A. Smith predicted would become catastrophic. The career decline following the draft has been swift and brutal to witness, exactly as Stephen Smith predicted it would be. As of August 2025, Sanders has been buried on the Browns' depth chart as the fourth-string quarterback behind Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dillon Gabriel. For someone who was projected as a potential franchise quarterback less than 6 months earlier, this represents a complete collapse of professional prospects that Stephen Smith directly attributes to character issues and poor decision-making. The psychological toll of this career freefall has been evident in Sanders' increasingly erratic behavior and public statements. NFL insiders have hinted the Browns might trade or cut Sanders amid the QB competition. The mere fact that a fifth-round pick is being discussed as a potential cut just months after being drafted speaks to how completely his stock has fallen and how toxic his presence has become within the organization. The financial repercussions continue to mount in ways that make Sanders' pre-draft spending look even more reckless and short-sighted. With his rookie salary of $840,000 and $447,000 signing bonus, Sanders is facing the reality of maintaining a multi-million-dollar lifestyle on a fraction of the income he had anticipated. The luxury car payments, jewelry insurance, property taxes, and lifestyle maintenance costs that seemed manageable when he was projected as a top 5 pick now represent a potentially crushing financial burden that could bankrupt him within years. Is there any hope for Sanders? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed that video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.